Well, good evening and welcome to Rangers Radio. Join myself, Fox, here on the shows. The one and only Juicy Bear and my big mucker Southside. How we doing, gentlemen?
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, good evening, Ox. Good evening, Juicy. And good evening, everyone listening in this evening.
Here. How are you, Juicy?
Very pleased that our European campaign has come to a quiet end, guys, and we can look forward to some domestic action.
Yeah. Back to normal domestic football. Let's go on and win this championship. Back to normal. Southside Super 6 beat. How we doing, Biggin?
Aye, good, mate. Got the bonfire built. So, aye, it's all good for tomorrow.
Aye, I'm sure Big Stevie will give you some tips on that, how to build a bonfire, mate.
Aye, he was there with the crates and that, pallets. It's looking quite good.
Aye, I'm sure he will. Aye. Right, okay. We're back to normal now. We move into domestic football. And look, a lot of games are big up to the break because we are down to the bone, Southside.
Aye. We're sort of thereabouts, mate. So hopefully we might get one player back tomorrow, but for Sunday, but we're not sure yet. But aye, got to go again. It's what it's about. The games come thick and fast, so you need to go on, mate. So hopefully we'll be well up for it on Sunday.
Aye, I think we should win, Juicy, but I always think we should win.
Oh, of course, Oxshire. We've just got to apply ourselves the way that we have done in most of our SPFL matches this season. I know there's been a few where we've seen some turgid performances, of course, recently at home to Livingston, but we followed that up with one of our best performances of the season against Aberdeen in terms of the way we played. And if we bring that, most SPFL teams won't be able to live with it. So we just want to see that standard and that application, and we'll be happy bears.
Good comment, mate. They've set the mark, Southside, but I think the other thing was, I don't know what you think, thinking it was an open game of football and it suited us.
Aye, 100%. They came out thinking they had a chance, and that's what their manager thought, and probably made these players believe it. Probably think we were vulnerable, but I thought we were on it for the start. Right attitude, played the forward passes, gave some space, and when we got the equaliser back, it was a good run for Tillman because we were getting bits of space on the park. They were trying to press us early, and we were bold enough to play around about it or through it. And that helped us also on the day, and it was turned out to be a good performance.
What pleased you the most? Southside first and then Juicy, what pleased you the most about
it? For the whole game, I thought probably having the midfield looking good, stronger. I just thought it was more positiveness in the team.
Positivity?
Positiveness, aye. Quick forward passing.
Did that come from pace?
I think it was an attitude thing between all the players. I think John Lundstrom alluded to it, that they had a conversation and a few players get told a few things and things were spoken about. And I think it was just a reaction to that. And I think we had a stronger defence on with having Ben Davis in the team. It let us experiment with Sands, and him and Lundstrom looked good together. So I think for then on, it was just a positive display, and it was a decent tempo, and we were at it for 90 minutes. It was like near enough a complete performance.
Right, okay. Juicy, same question, your good self.
Well, the tempo, just being able to play it with a level of fizz that we hadn't seen for a lot of our matches this season. Also, and this was a massive thing for me, and I'm sure you guys will agree, putting Sands into a midfield role, which has he even played there in the league this season? I mean, I know we saw him against West Ham when we played very well against them, and he started a lot of the attacks in that match. And I think that was the last time I can recall him actually playing in the midfield. So it was great to see him there, and I think we might not get to see that this weekend, guys, because he's probably going to be required in the centre-back position again. But you just want to see him given that opportunity when we've got players back again, because I think that's his natural position, and he'll get more game time because he's got that creativeness that some of our other midfielders don't necessarily bring.
Yeah, it seems to be a boy that's grown in confidence, Southside. You know, we gave him a hard start. I do think it was a mistake when Giovanni played him right away, brought him into the squad and then put him in against Aberdeen his first game. I don't think that was fair on the boy. But he's a boy who seems to have grown in confidence.
I think it's just time it's took him to probably settle in, and he's been moved a bit, but he's a good chance to see if he's playing centre back, he can look and see how the midfield plays in the shape. I think we've seen him in central midfield. I'm not too worried if he doesn't go and beat players and go on the attack, but he looks like he can break the play up, he can go on the ball, he was releasing it a lot quicker. So if that's if he manages to nail down a place in the midfield and we get a couple of football players round about him, and he's the guy that's going to try and break the play down and move the ball in, then it'll be a positive. And if that's the style of play that it takes and it gets him in the team and he's playing well up, saying all the better for us. That's maybe what we've missed. We've not actually seen the true boy play in his true position. I always said we can judge him when you see him playing in his true position. And we hadn't seen that up to then. We know he can fill in at full back or centre back, as they say. Mm-hmm. But I think if you look on Saturday's performance, I think his best display that we've actually seen, probably from him, has been in the middle of the park beside Lundstrom in that one game so far.
I would reserve judgment if that makes sense, Juicy. I think the boy's coming on and played really well last week. I gave him man of the match. But I would say that 12 games maybe, is that fair? Give him 12 games and then we can judge him.
Yeah, I agree. We've made too many snap decisions. People who like to call in, and sometimes us on the panel, we've made quick decisions about players. People have to be given an opportunity, and as we've always said, in the right position as well. Tillman, for example, played out of position in so many matches, big matches as well. I wasn't prepared to judge the boy when you know he's not a right winger. You've got to question the manager as to why he was putting them there, and I know we've been short in some matches, so that's perhaps some of the reason. But play these guys where their better positions are, and then let's judge them from there. We're not going to be in that position for a little while. We're going to have to get through this period of just going with what's available, because we've got a dozen players out injured now. And I just want anyone who's listening to remember that, because we've all got our opinions on Gio and how well he's done with us so far. But for any manager to be faced with what is just an injury disaster at the moment, doesn't matter whether it's SPFL or Champions League, puts you in a difficult situation.
I think that's. I think like when we're talking about what you're saying there, Juicy, I think when you look at what we had to put up with performances wise in the league, I think we had that stuttering start with performances, and obviously the European campaign didn't help us with results wise and performance. But now that I think we've put that to bed now, I think what we've got today is hopefully go forward on Sunday, and I think it's going to look like probably going forward in the next 3 games that a couple of the young boys may be round about our squad, maybe getting a chance of getting some game time, like a Charlie McCann, and obviously with the boy Lowry coming back, getting his fitness back with the B team and playing a game, being on the bench and getting a wee cameo role the other night. So I think going forward, Juicy, maybe that's what we'll be looking for. Maybe Charlie McCann and the boy Lowry coming in at some point and helping strengthen the team a wee bit. going forward for the next 3 games where the injuries are so bad.
Yeah, I think now that Lowry's got that, hopefully got that injury behind him, we want to see him getting more and more into this setup and starting matches hopefully in the future. But for now, I would settle for some decent substitute appearances, come on, make an impact, especially if we're struggling, which hopefully we won't be. But we've lacked that creativity, guys. With so many number 10s being injured across the piece, and Tillman only being really the only one fully fit. No Lawrence, no Hadji, no Lowry. We've missed that creative spark in the middle of the park. And, any club in the United Kingdom and Europe is going to struggle with so many creative players out. And it's
talking
just
about creative players, Juicy. Talking about creative players, I know you're a numbers man in Southside. I know you like to watch rather than... but a lot of people go on all this data stuff to get now. It's modern football big,
Aye. All the sports science stuff and all this XG stuff.
So this is the top chances in the chances created in the Scottish Premier League, right? And it's for Optra, right? And it's surprising me. So it's minutes played and how many chances you've created. Total open play chances creation, yeah? Chances and secondary chances. The 2 top players with 39 are Ryan Kent and James Tavernier. Third in the rest is 30 with 32 is John Lundstrom. Fourth is Boyle. And joint fifth is Borna Barisic. Surprised?
I'm surprised, considering performance-wise, he's not looked like he's been doing a lot. But obviously, if they're judging it and looking at the figures, and if him and James Tavernier, the top 2.
I'm surprised, but it just shows you, yeah? Maybe shows you how high they've set the bar.
I suppose if we're giving Kent a look at the ball and he's going forward and he's running at players and taking them on, and maybe it's surprising, but he's tap. I'll be honest, I'm surprised.
Me also, but there you go. Juicy.
You can bamboozle people with all kinds of stats these days. You can always find a positive out of anything.
Don't shoot the messenger, Juicy.
No, I don't want to shoot the messenger. It's we know what these guys are capable of as well. So it's not always perhaps too surprising, but sometimes it's just the way certain players have been playing, which is why they've come under some criticism. We know that some players have been struggling recently, and of course we want Ryan Kent to be the Ryan Kent that he was in the title-winning season, but unfortunately, a lot of the players at this club have had pretty good longevity now, haven't they? And they've been here for a while, and teams, if you don't change it up too much, opposing teams will figure out how to play against you sometimes. And that's not suggesting that they're all one-trick ponies, but maybe we could change it up a bit more with sort of how we play along the forward line. Now, it wasn't that long ago. The forward 3 were always swapping around and making it difficult for the opposition to figure out where we were coming from. We need to bring that back into the game, be a little bit more unpredictable.
Hi. Well, it surprised me. It really did surprise me. And it must be true because it was Fox that sent me it. That's going to be true. Southside, do you know what I mean?
I'm surprised he didn't have Tavernier at the top then and Kent below.
Aye. He tried to do it in reverse alphabetical order, no? Yeah. Anyway, right, I'll tell you what we'll do. We're going to hear from the manager, our manager, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst, our manager. And then we'll get these phone lines open, if that's all right with you two gents.
Yeah, it sounds like a plan.
Go.
Let's hear for the gaffer.
Joe, just on Europe, obviously the club is a lot more competitive in the Europa League than the Champions League. Would you accept that perhaps the Europa League is Rangers level?
Well, I think you've seen the level we faced in Champions League. We played really well against PSV and Union in the qualification rounds. Both teams are comfortable through in Europa League. The difference in level is there. Is for everyone to see. It's also for us. We sensed that and we felt it in all the games we played in the Champions League. So yeah. Pot 4 teams, always have it difficult in Champions League, and like we have experienced this year. So yes, if you compare it with Europe last year and this year, it's a big difference, but also difference in levels. So I think the longer you're gonna play on Champions League level, the more experience the players have to compete against the players who are playing in Champions League, the better it will be. But as I said, it's been 12 years since we've played on this level with Rangers, and we still, we are there as well next year. But it's not every time the Champions League is played we are there. That's not the case. But we want to be there, and I think that will help also the development of the team and the players. But it's really tough. If you see the teams who qualified, the teams who didn't qualify for the next round, like really, really big teams like Juventus or Barcelona, Atletico Madrid out of Europe. That's the level you face, and that's it's been hard.
You still believe it's better for Rangers to be in a competition like that, even though you get hit with such a very difficult group?
Yeah, what we had a discussion a couple of weeks ago. I mean, once you can qualify for Champions League, you want your players to do it, and we had that. We qualified for the first time in 12 years in Champions League, so that's a very big compliment to my players to achieve that in not an easy qualification rounds with Union and PSV. So that's what you want, to get the maximum out of the games, and then so that means you will. If you can qualify for Champions League, you will always have to do it. There's no discussion for me to say, okay, Champions League level is too high. We're not going to try to reach the Champions League. It's impossible.
Has it almost became a mixed around neck to a certain extent that the PSV game was obviously a massive achievement. I imagine it was one of the things the board asked you to do this year was qualify, but then it almost feels like getting past that hurdle has led to more criticism coming as opposed to going into the Europa League and getting through the group and going on a run again.
Well, same for the players, same for me as a boss. I've been playing in the best clubs in Europe. Competing for the highest prices, and as a coach, I want the same. I want to be in Champions League. Our dream was to be in Champions League after 12 years. So when you work hard and in trying to achieve that, which we did against PSV. You're very proud of the achievement, but you also know, like, it's not Europa League you're playing in, it's Champions League, and that's something you always have. Success always brings expectation, and especially when you have to go up a level, the expectation still will be there. But and that's why you will have the games we had in Europe, with big defeats, and that's. But that's part of the game. I wouldn't have changed anything that had happened this year for my team and their experience.
You speak about the players learning from this for next year. I guess looking at the number of players that are out of contract at the end of the season, I think it's 10, you include the loan players. Do you think that this team will still be together enough that they can actually learn, or is it going to be a turnover in the summer?
Well, you said, we have 10 players out of contract or end of loan. So that means you will have to change 10 players if those players don't extend or aren't here anymore. So it's hard, because you want to develop a team, but you also know, like, end of this season, I don't know what's happening with all the players. So could be that we have 10 new players coming in next year, which will also mean you still have to develop again as a team to gel together, to develop them. So, that's also the thing we have to wait and see how the team will look next season.
Is that the difficulty at Rangers where, you look at Champions League, your budget is maybe 2 or 3 times smaller than Ajax, but then you come to the domestic scene and it's the other way around now, St Johnstone, where you've got a budget that dwarfs them,
Yeah, but
what do you think of the financial?
We play St Johnstone, or last week you get the question, you have more budget than Aberdeen. Yeah, it's normal that we win against Aberdeen when the budget's so much more. They can give you a really hard game, like we also sense, but 4-1, and people say, yeah, it's normal, we win 4-1. So we face Liverpool, who has maybe, I don't know how many times, maybe 8-10 times more budget, and then we lose as well, and then it's impossible, or it's what we have in Scotland, with the difference in money and spending. We feel the same in the Champions League, and that's just facts, and how European football is hard, and that doesn't mean you can get good results, because we show that in Europe, but on the long haul it's very difficult.
Gio, can I take you back to the transfer policy again? You said you make the call together for new players. The coach may look short term, the club may look long term. Were you overruled at any point for any players that you wanted to bring to the club?
No, not overruled. Of course, we're looking into to positions, players coming in, and some players, just didn't want to come, or like the transfer fees and salaries are too high. It's a normal process. Of course, you have an ideal situation. I want this player or that player, but in the end, you also know we have to keep to our budget, and keep to our budget for salary, but also the budget we can invest in players. So, that's the policy. That's I think important for the club, because for the future. And of course, we are trying to get the best players in, which are possible. But I never get overruled in a player I wanted to have, and I said no, it's impossible.
So sitting here today, do you expect to have to look for 10 new players next summer?
I don't hope so, but it's still football. It's players out of contract. So you're not deciding their future. They have their future in their own hands and the decision, because they are out of contract. And so it can be 10, it can be less. I don't know. It's depending how the next coming months will go. But it's obviously we have a lot of players out of contract.
Joe, what's the squad looking like? Any more updates with injuries, players getting close to returning? Can we see Glenn from the start of the weekend?
Well, Glenn, he came in on Tuesday, so he will be available for Sunday. Of course, we have John back from suspension. Charlie McCann is ready and eligible to play again. So we still have one session left tomorrow. So then we see how the squad is, but we don't have any really major doubts for Sunday.
Right, thanks for that. We're back, gents?
Yep.
Yeah. Look, no major doubts. I'll take it in reverse order. No major doubts. Does that suggest that Ben Davies might be playing Southside?
He said get a fitness test, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be good if he does make it and he is fit to play, because I think it strengthens our midfield. But if he's no, I'll say he's no. But we get him fit, or we're getting him match fit, and now he's getting niggles and maybe fit and no fit, and you're hoping you're going to see him back playing regular week in, week out, and that's what we're looking for off him.
Aye, so let's assume he's fit for this conversation. Yes?
Right.
No, he's left, and then who are you going to play, right?
I would play, ideally, I would have took the young boy, or I took Leon King out if I could have. But to keep the midfield strong, I would play him. And I would get Sands into midfield that we'd have with Borner and Davis and Leon King in defence.
So you've got Tav, Lundstrom, and the other, but except it's going to be a 4-2-3-1, yeah?
I'd like to think it'll be Lundstrom and Sands.
Aye. So if Sands plays on the right side of the defence, are you accepting it'll be Kamara will go in beside Lundstrom? That's how it looks?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Are you back with us, Juicy?
Yeah, technical issues resolved, sir.
Yeah, not a problem, mate. Not a problem. What's your thinking? Are you thinking who would you go on the right side of the defence if Ben Davies is playing?
I've got no problems with King or Sands, really, whoever he's going to utilise. I mean, can you see it being anyone else other than those two?
No, I can't. Not at the moment. I think it's a decision, but it's just a decision. If Ben Davies plays, you've got a choice to make. If Ben Davies doesn't play, both of them are playing in defence.
Yeah, I mean, we'd all love to see Sands playing in the middle this weekend, but just have to see what happens. You know, my only concern really, well, I've got a lot of concerns, so, but my only concern with regards to the midfield is, has it got the creativity that, you know, if we don't have Sands in there, you know, we're going to be really reliant on Tillman. But in fairness, Lundstrom had a good game against the Sheep. You know, he pushed forward, looked really good. It was a bit more of the Lundstrom.
Three games in a row domestically scored, John Lundstrom.
Absolutely. But it was a bit more of the Lundstrom against Aberdeen that we saw last season. You know, and I want to see more of that because we know he's got the capabilities to be a top player at this club. We saw that a lot last season. We saw his drive, you know, the aggression in the tackle. That's in him. He's still got that. You know, we just got to. You know, there was talk, wasn't there? Was he carrying some kind of injury? And I think he acknowledged that on a podcast that he was on. And so hopefully he's through that now, and you know, because the performance he put in last week was excellent. Obviously he didn't play midweek, so you know maybe that can go in his favour as well. That he's had a few days off. I'd love to see Sands in there with him, but if Sands has to play at the back, so be it. Because I've got no qualms about him playing there either. It's just the fact that we lack a little bit in the middle from that creative standpoint.
All right, let's hear from you.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972? It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
Juicy, do you see anything changing on Sunday forward line? Do you think we'll stick with Sakala, Cholak and Kent up front?
I think it's got to be Cholak, and I think Fashion deserves a run in this team. And we know that he's a little bit hit and miss, no more so than anyone else in our forward line, with the exception of Cholak. But we know there's some capability there, and you just want to see him given that run of games, which he's never really had.
This is the Vodafone voicemail service for 073.
Carry on, mate.
Get him in there, and you know, look, Oxio, I want to see him play on the left, but Kent seems to be undroppable, which is pretty annoying when we know that, you know, he has had some.
I think he's been slightly better the last two games, if I've been fair. As critical as we've been, I think, against Aberdeen and at times against Ajax in possession, he done okay, Ryan Kent.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, there was definitely an improvement there.
I'll cut across you. We've been joined by Ryan. and it's no Ryan Kent. How we doing, Ryan?
Hi, how you doing?
Good to hear from you, mate. What's on your mind, mate?
Not much. I've been listening to you quietly for the last couple of months.
All right.
I was phoning in because I just thought Robert was getting a wee bit of a hard time over the last couple of nights. He was making some good points and they were being dismissed.
Robert makes a lot of good points, mate. Yeah. But the show's live sometimes, and we have to be fair to him and everybody else, mate. Yeah, we've got a lot of time for Robert. Yeah, we'll never dismiss of Robert.
I think it was Allbear. Allbear mentioned the other night that we were 2 players short of a good team.
That's Allbear's opinion, mate. Yeah, and he's putting it out there. Everybody's got an opinion. Yeah.
Well, whatever happens, we're all with the Rangers. We want them to win, but I'm personally just hoping we can get a couple of players for midfield and get the right guys in. And I just want Rangers just to get going and get top of this league because we really need to win it this year, eh? We've had too many downs this season already. We need something to lift our spirits.
That's the aim, but there's 2 competitions, Southside domestically and the Champions League, and I thought Giovanni was very honest in the press conference. Southside, didn't you see?
He's honest, Ryan. Look, we're all passionate on here, mate. We all love the Rangers. And Robert phones in regular. He's a good caller, and Robert is passionate. Do I want rid of the manager now? No. I think Robert did, which is his prerogative, mate, and he's a supporter and he's entitled to it. Some supporters out there do, but I think if you separate it, we've not played great. In some games we've started to play okay in the league. We've had maybe three decent performances in the league out of the 7 or 8, whatever games we've played. I think the tipping point was the Liverpool result. I think that tipped a lot of people. Some people say it didn't, but I believe it did, because if you listen to a lot of people I've spoke to, and even people I talk to, they'll always get back to that with me about that game. So I just think we've got to settle down. Hopefully we'll get 3 good wins, Ryan, in the next 3 weeks, and then hopefully we can get a couple of players back, and it might make a difference to our team. It will certainly strengthen it, and then we can look to have a go. And that's all we can look at the moment. We've had 1 defeat and 2 draws. The 1 draw isn't acceptable is Livingston. We should never have caved in up there. I accept that. It happened, and we've caved in before many times over many years. So it's 1 bad result this season. And the other one was we should have probably got away with the points at Easter Road, but we didn't. So, it's no great. We're 4 points behind at the moment. But we've got to group together and hope that we'll get to we'll win the next 3 games, which I expect us to do, and then we'll take stock after the World Cup. Ryan, that's what I think is the best idea today.
Jesse?
Oh, look, we've got a patched up team at the moment, and as I said at the top of the show, and if you've got almost a dozen players out, which we had in midweek when you included the suspension of Big John as well, it's extremely difficult for any team to be able to operate when they're playing every 3 or 4 days and consistently put in good performances. Sometimes you've just got to get through a match, get the win, dissect it later, but just be pleased you got the win. And Southside's totally right. The Hibernian game, okay, we got a draw, but there was a lot of circumstances in and around that match. Okay, we lost the Old Firm derby. That was a painful one. And the Livingston one was unfortunately at the peak of a very bad period of fairly poor performances, intermingled with a terrible European run. And from that point of view, now that we're through the European campaign, guys, we can try and we're still not going to be that light a schedule, is it? Because of the World Cup, it's going to condense matches in the second half of the season as well. But we're putting a lot of onus, Ryan, aren't we, on the injuries? But we are going to get people back. That will get easier. As far as Robert is concerned, anyone who phones up Rangers Radio is entitled to their opinion. And it's okay for other people on here to disagree. we've got to be nice about it, though. Let's be nice and kind to each other because we're all fans of the same club. But sometimes it's good to disagree because it encourages debate as well.
Ryan?
Yes. Can I speak to Oaks, Chair?
You're speaking to him, mate. You're speaking to him.
Oaks, Chair. Listen, it's no good, Oaks, Chair. It's really no. Well, I know we're all the Rangers 100%, but it's no good, Oaks, Chair, This needs to stop. If it means... Listen, I've been thinking about this for the start of the season. I've been listening to all the shows. See, my conclusions is keep Gio, right? He's not a bad manager. Just keep him. But see this guy, Royce Wilson, he needs to go. And see the next players that we bring in. They've got to be brought in with a different guy. This is no working, Oaks, Chair. It's no working, and I'm afraid to say, see if we played that other team across the side of the morning, we could beat again. I like Gio. He's a good manager and he's done great for Rangers. We need a couple of new players in, but I want somebody else to bring them in, Oaks, Chair. Because I don't have any. This guy Ross, he's no doing it for his Oaks, Chair.
What's your criticism of Ross Wilson in the summer signings? I mean, I'm critical of Ross Wilson.
I know, Oaks, Chair. I know it's hard to say. He's done good with Bassey and Aribo and all them. And I think that guy Lawrence, he's a good player. And Ridvan is a good player. And Kolach has been brilliant. Kolach is the next Chris Boyd in my eyes. But it's no working, Oaks, Chair. It's just no... I can't put my finger on it, but it's just no working.
I don't think you're alone in these thoughts, mate, but we have to be fair if we're going to make statements, Southside, yeah? I mean, I think there's been a few mistakes, in my opinion. I've got the length of the contracts and maybe other renewals, but if you look at the summer signings, just the summer signings, yeah? We brought in Suter before that, so the summer we brought in Tillman and Tom Lawrence to replace, if you like, Aribo. Tillman's a project and Lawrence an experienced pro. Cholak is a goal scorer. Ben Davis is a defender. And Ridvan, that was to cover the utility of Calvin Bassey. I think it's difficult to judge any of them really by Cholak. They've all done... There's been... The little ones we've seen, some of them, they've done okay at times. Tillman's a boy and he's been posted missing sometimes. But to say you would discard him as soon as a bit early, Southside, I don't know what your thinking is.
Ryan, I was pretty critical of Ross Wilson, right? I said on here a few weeks ago, if people are calling for Gio's head, then you're as well getting rid of Ross Wilson as well, right? And start again. I've looked at it because we've had a couple of them back. Ben Davis probably looks all right. He's looking quite comfortable on the ball. If he could play every week, I think and we got Golson back, who isn't my favourite player. But if we looked at it, if we had a fit Tav, Golston, Ben Davis and Yilmaz, everybody's come on and said Yilmaz looks positive. So if we had that, Jack, would that defence suit you at the moment?
I mean... That would be it would be an...
It'd be better, wouldn't it? It'd be better than what we've got now.
Aye, but can I just say one last thing? The thing is, I think this is what Gio Van Bronckhorst has been caught up in, and he doesn't know this. See a lot of these players like Alan McGregor, Stephen Davis, Arfield, Kamara, Ryan Jack, and even put in that Borna Barisic. A lot of them were finished after 55. And I don't think Gio knew that. And I think he's just catching on to it now. And I think we've just held on to too many players too long. That's no addressing up front, because see, during the summer there, all we had, Alfie was out, right? Roof, as I was injured, right? And all we did was we brought one striker in with Kolach. It wasn't good enough, and I think Gio's been caught out with a few of these players that we, and even Gerrard, if he was still, we all know that they should have been moved on a wee while ago, and he's been caught out and fun out with a few of them. And I know it's a hard situation here because a lot of these players have done brilliant. But, we've been caught with a wee bit of a mixture of players should have been moved on a wee bit earlier, and we maybe should have brought in a couple of more players earlier as well. And it's just how it is. And I just hope we can find a solution here, because we all want the Rangers to win.
Here. Right. Listen, Juicy, that's a fair comment. I mean, you've gave McGregor, you've gave Stephen Davis, you know what I think of him, and you've gave Scotty Arfield extensions, you know, and I can understand the logic behind it. Has it worked? Well, we'll know at the end of the season, but I get Ryan's point. Juicy?
And I think some of us were surprised by perhaps so many of the old guard staying on. I mean, even players like Alfredo and Kent, you know, have been at the club for a number of years, although they're probably going to go, you know, unfortunately on a free. But a lot of people, Oxjer, would argue that we didn't have a lot of transfer ambition in the summer, and that a lot of people weren't satisfied with just re-signing some of these guys. My personal view was I was okay with re-signing these guys, provided it was to supplement and complement a new contingent that were coming in. And to an extent, that did happen. But then, as we all know, and as you just said, Ox, took quite a while, didn't it, for a lot of those new guys to feature. And some of that has only been because the hand has been forced due to some injuries. And there's very few of that new contingent that have had sustained runs. But we are starting to see that a little bit more now, you know, Ben Davis especially, and he looks decent, obviously Cholak.
Last Saturday, Redvan started, Ben Davis started, Tillman started, Cholak started, and obviously Tom Lawrence is injured.
Yeah, it was one of the first occasions where we'd actually been able to say a lot of the new guys were in the starting lineup. But yeah, McGregor, Arfield, and Davis.
Them only lasted to half time, but they did start. Juicy.
It's true, and that was sad to see that the young boy didn't make it for past the 10th minute. But McGregor's done bits and pieces for us this season. We've seen that, you know, he's got class. We know that he's got a few weaknesses. I feel like Stephen Davis. I mean, I don't think we had any other options, really, did we, guys, against Ajax the other day? But I think he's unfortunately short of a step or two now. And we probably didn't expect to have to feature him as much as we've seen him this season. You know, the hand's been forced, hasn't it, guys? You know, these guys would have been fine as bit part players, but when you're having to suddenly see Arfield playing most of the time because of the situation we're in, you suddenly see some of the limitations again.
Good points, mate. Good points. Ryan, you want to come back?
I know it's they're all good points, and we're all making good points, and we're all making negative points. And at the end of the day, we just want our team to win. And I was listening to, was it Gordon Smith that was on the radio last night, and it just brought back great memories. And I was thinking about Walter and all them, and the good times at Rangers. And I'm just thinking to myself, just come on, Gio, let's get this team going, and let's get this league won, because that's who we are. We're all winners, and Glasgow Rangers are winners. And I just hate it when we're all getting. See that Liverpool defeat? That killed me that night in this Champions League this year, and just want Rangers getting back to the good old winning days. That's all I want. That's all we all want. And we need to pull together here and sort this out.
If you look at our record,
that's what I'm going to say, lads. And I'm away. Good night, lads. Right.
Good mate. Bye.
Good night, lads.
Southside, I mean, if we really wanted to dissect with the record in the Champions League at any time, it ain't been fantastic, is it?
No, it's no. I don't know. I mean, we've all got high expectations, right? We wanted to go into the Champions League. For me, as I said, when we won the league, that was a chapter for coming up through the leagues, and we got back to that. And then my next thing was I wanted to see Rangers in the Champions League, and we've done that. And I've seen performance for Grasshoppers away. We were battered 3-0. The only player that came up and say thanks to us was Michael Moles. The rest of them trooped off the park up the tunnel. Seen horrendous results in Europe for Rangers. But I think because we were competing in the Europa League and we had 11 players, we had a system and we had 11 players playing at their peak, basically, at that time. Lack of injuries, even with Stephen Davis in that midfield at times, competing against Porto's, Benfica's and Villarreal's. But Villarreal aren't in the Champions League and other teams that we couldn't beat either. People forget that. It's all right saying we done well. We did. We got credibility back in the Europa League and we went in that run. There's a lot of teams that we have put out in the Europa League that didn't even make the Champions League. I just think we were in a massive hard group box and we just didn't have the players to compete at that level. They were just, Napoli were just well above anything in that group, just about. I think they might get quarter-finals. I don't think they'll go to win it. I think they'll maybe get quarter-finals. Liverpool will go probably deep in the competition, and I think Ajax will probably tear it up a bit in that Europa League. So at the end of the day, we've just got to concentrate back on our bread and butter, and it's the league. And we might say we've not got the greatest squad in the world at the moment, but we've got a chance to try and get some players back and possibly try and add something when the manager or the Ross Wilson thinks the time's right. And hopefully if we do add players, we'll get it right and we'll get some success this season. And then maybe that will take some of the detractors away from jail and the team, the management, Ross Wilson and the board, because it's all negativity. There is an element out there, Ox, I think it does want him out the door and would gladly see he's probably drop points to get him out the door. But
are you saying to me, Southside, that there's Rangers supporters? Rangers supporters?
No, I'd say there's Rangers fans. I've met a couple during the week and they were like, I'll go down to Ibrox on Saturday for Gio's wake. No. And you're like, really, aye. There is an element out there probably that want them out the door, and if it costs a result or a draw and they can all shout louder, then obviously that's what happens. It's sad, but that's what happens. It's the same even booing the team at half time against Ajax at Ibrox. You know, we had a weakened team out there. We had to put the team we had out in the park. Well, we watched Rangers get beat 4-0 in Ajax and we didn't boo the team when they came out at the end of 90 minutes. It's not something nowadays, boo a Rangers team. Never have, never will. Or a player. So
what you're saying is we get beat 4-0 at Ibrox away from home, and the away support in Europe applauded the team at the end. Is that what you're saying?
Well, most days all did, aye. Or in about as what else you might do. They've come out, they've tried. Aye, we get battered 4-0, but
the whole support booed them off at half time. Even we know it's not acceptable. We want to compete at Ibrox, but I think you've got to understand level Southside.
Aye, and look, everybody's entitled to their opinion, right? If you want to boo a Rangers player, fine. It's your entitlement to do it. There's many a Rangers player being booed at Ibrox. We've seen it. The whole Copeland Road sang Ali McCoy's back in the day, if you remember. And they've all had it. Amarusso, Bert Contam and Ian Ferguson. They've all had it. There's many of them have had it. But I just don't boo them off at half-time at Ibrox, you know. But I've always said the away support and the home support is two different supports altogether. I've always said that, so that's just my opinion on it.
Can you expand on that for me and explain what you mean?
I just think it's a different mentality. Go to support the team away from him. There's at Ibrox, I think you get your corporate guests, you get your guys that go in business and come up and go into boxes and all that, guys that turn up now and again. I think the fans that travel that go away from him are a different sort of support to the home support. You'll not hear the team usually getting booed at an away game.
All right. Juicy?
I think your away support travel all over. You look at Southside, guy goes everywhere, even when they know they're not going to let us into the stadium. And you know, Southside, I tip my hat off to you, my friend. Booing the club, booing the team when it's been a difficult match, doesn't really help anyone, does it? And I know fans get frustrated, but we've got to look at where we are coming back into the Champions League after a long period out of it. Look at the tables, look at the groups that there were. Only one pot 4 side qualified. The rest all finished bottom of their groups. And that was Club Brugge, who had a magnificent group stage. And as I've said before, they've had 4 consecutive seasons in the Champions League. They've had to build up to this. You're not going to do it in your first season back. And that's despite the fact that we had a good season last season in Europa. We know that this was a step up, not just in finances, but in a lot of the quality teams that year on year are going deep into it, such as Liverpool. Even when people are saying Liverpool aren't having their best season domestically, they've still got enough to comfortably qualify for the next round. It's not going to be easy, but fans need to get behind the team. We've witnessed far worse, haven't we, in lower divisions against fairly poor sides when we didn't exactly have the best of teams ourselves. So I'm still really, really pleased with where we've got to. And I know a lot of fans don't want to keep hearing about the journey and they want to move on from it. We have to recognise that still. And we're going to have Champions League again next season, guys.
We have to recognise it, Juicy. There's some figures come out today with the money we'll maybe earn in the Champions League. I'm going to leave it, but I'll just touch on this. Because of the 10-year coefficient, remembering we weren't in it for 5 years, yeah? We get 2.2 million and they get 7 million. So there's a 5 million deficit before we start. And they've had that money for 10 years while we've been away. And people wonder how our board have got a job today. Yeah. There's a difference. Before you kick a ball, just for the 10-year coefficient for the money for Europe.
Yeah, and it takes a couple of years for us to reverse that because, like you said, we weren't even there. I think we should all be very, very pleased with how well Rangers have done in the time that we have been back. And I know everyone wants instant success, wants to win everything straight away, but you've got to appreciate that there is work to be done. You're not going to get instant success when you're competing with those kind of finances. We're well aware of what the other team spent in the summer, and it's something that we've got to, advance to. It might take a couple more years. We've got to be shrewd, and we have been at times, but the injuries haven't helped. And we've got some quality players that haven't even played. How many games have Lawrence had? 4 or 5?
Something like that. But I'm not defending some of the decisions we've made, some of the tactics outside, some of the players' performances. I'm not defending that at all, but I've just been trying to be realistic.
Aye, well, we don't have many international players that play international football. We play in a Diddy League in Scotland where we get the ball all the time and we keep the ball. We go into Europe and we give it away, and then you see what happens. If you don't defend properly, you get punished. We were getting punished in the Europa League, and we certainly get punished in the Champions League. These players have all got a quicker speed of thought and all that because they're playing international football and they're playing in the top leagues and they're getting tested all the time. We don't get tested that much in Scotland. But when we're not playing great, we do. But we've made chances, the team. Look at Aberdeen, the chance they created in the first minute of the second half. If I'd been in Europe, we'd have get punished. But he missed it. And that's the margins that we're up against. And we've not got the international players that are playing at the top level. So, and we've got projects in a couple of the positions in the team. We're all hopeful. We all demand that we win and we go out there and we put up a fight and we do our best. But this year we've been off it by all sorts of reasons. Injuries, sending offs, and just lack of quality in our squad, and that's just the reality of it. And that's just we've got to take on the chin, and we'll learn from it. And hopefully we get back in the Champions League next year, and we acquit ourselves a bit better, and we get players maybe at 23, 24, or 25 that might be international players, and they want to come and play because all we can promise them is Champions League. we can't promote the league and say, come and play here. It's great to come and play, and teams will play 5-5 or 5-4 every week against us, majority of them. So we've got to promise them trying to win trophies, but play European football. And obviously, Champions League football is what you need to promise them. That's how we attracted players in the past stops.
Aye. I was actually surprised at that 10-year coefficient. I was aware of it, Juicy, but I forgot about it. And when you look at that, they would have free run at that money. A free run at it. Yeah.
They had a free run, Oxshire, you're right. But fortunately for us, they were pretty mints in that time.
Yeah, we'll go buy them. We'll go buy them because obviously.
Oh, we will because
this every year drops off. Yeah.
Exactly. The last several years has been really good for us, and for them far less so. What's kept them up has been the 5 years previous, but that will drop off, and even this season, as Linda said the other night, despite how poor a campaign it's been, the qualification points, the coefficient points that we gained in qualifying has still actually outscored the other Scottish sides, which wouldn't be difficult because Scotland as a whole has just been an absolutely terrible season for the collective coefficient. And obviously that will hurt us down the line as a country again in a couple of years. But we should be very, very proud of where we have been over the piece. But as difficult as this has been, guys, this season, we need repeated seasons in the Champions League because you have to continue to work at it to get better. We can say that we'd be better off in the Europa League, and maybe from a footballing standpoint, guys, that's true. But we've got to get in there repeatedly to get better. We've got to work at it, and it will take.
Our aim is to compete and get to a pot 3 team. That's what aim. Compete.
Exactly.
And that's a step forward. Anyway, we're going to have a tune if that's all right. We used to, gents. Get your cell phone mute.
Today, forever and for always, we are Rangers through and through. Well, the legends come and the legends go, but Rangers live on just the same. For a new one's born when the blue shirts won. And we all remember their names. We are the legendary Rangers. We wear the legendary blue. Today, forever and for always, we are Rangers through and through. And there is no doubt what we're all about when we face the world and say, bring it on some more, 'cause you know for sure that we don't do walk away. We don't do walk away. Legendary Rangers, we wear the legendary blue. Today, forever and for always, we are Rangers through and through. We are the legendary Rangers, we wear the legendary blue. Today, forever and for always, we are Rangers through and through.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972? It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
We're all back, gentlemen.
Yep.
Good tune.
Yeah. Aye. Well, I'm obviously disappointed as the next man. I get it. I understand the emotion. I get
feeling. I get maybe the problem is what we do with this show, Southside, and you're looking at stuff all the time, you get a sense of realism when you see you have to look at certain stuff, figures, and where we are, where we've been, and you have to discard the emotion because we've been upset and we don't like getting beat with them, we don't like getting beat with anybody. We don't feel we should, particularly Ibrox. So it hurts. But
of course it does, aye.
It's the hurt sense tinged with a sense of realism, mate.
I think we all had probably... I was on here saying we should be going down to Anfield, and I was going down there and saying we should have a right good go at them, because your emotions get you, and it's what we expect, it's what we've been brought up with. Rangers win, Rangers attack, Rangers score, Rangers win, and we demand that we win. We will the team to win week in, week out. But I mean, when I've sat and we've all spoke about it, when we travelled, all the boys have all travelled together, and we've all been at trips, many trips together all through the years, and we've looked at what we faced this year. And the reality is, we rode our luck a bit during the Europa League campaign, but we got there. We hoped and we should have probably won it. I think if we had a striker, we probably could have won it. We probably would have won it on the park for 90 minutes. And then the expectation was, let's get into the Champions League. And we've done that. So he's ticked the box. What the board would hope would happen, we got there. And it's just that we've failed pretty miserably in it. And that's just the reality of it, and I just hope that we get back in it next year and we can equip ourselves a bit better. And I don't think we're going to get good teams. And probably over the next few years, this might all change. It might even get harder for us to get into this Champions League, how they're going to change it and stuff. We might not even be playing in a Champions League again for all you know. We might have to get through qualifier, and then we might just not get there. So, but aye, it is what it is, and it's happened, and we've failed, and at the end of the day, we've just got to go on with domestic success now, and that's what we've got to all focus on.
Yeah. Are you telling me you think it's time to get behind the team? Is that what you're saying?
Well, of course, we all probably do support the team. Like I said, there's a wee faction out there that might want us not to, but I think the vast majority, that's what gets us all upset and gets us emotional, because we all love Glasgow Rangers Football Club, and that's it. That's the emotional tie that we've all got to this club.
I mean, you could be like old Davey, and he's had like 20, 30 women in his life, but you've only got one football team, haven't you?
Don't listen to him, guys. Don't listen to him.
Sorry. I'll rephrase that. In this year, Davey, how we doing?
I am doing great, guys. It's always a pleasure coming on and speaking to you. And that chap that answers the phones, he's a gentleman. And good evening, Juicy and Suicide, and yourself, folks. Now, I was just trying to pick up on. I listened to the interview that Gio done. Did you still hear it from the beginning?
I never had the edited version. I was putting the great.
I've heard that, Davey.
Right. Well, what I'm getting on about here is I picked up on this. We've been talking about who signs who and who's responsible. Is it Ross Wilson? Is it Gio? He was asked a question there today, and the guy said to him, there's a lot of Rangers supporters are asking, who is it that signs these players? And the answer he gave was, it's a joint decision. The coaching staff and Ross Wilson. So I think that answers all the who signs who queries. Do you agree with that?
I get that, Davey. I get that. I mean, they'll say they need a right winger, and the Ross Wilson will say, we'll get X amount we spend. These are the 5 players we can go for. And they'll sit and say, right, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. You might not always get your first target. You might end up with number 5, but I think the management team should have a bit to play then. Juicy?
I think this is where some people can go a bit and maybe overthink it a little bit in terms of who's responsible for this and who's responsible for that. I'm not naive about it, but I like to sit back and think that these guys at the club know and agree what their roles are, Ox. And you would think that everyone who's involved in the scouting and identifying players would be speaking to the manager. And you don't have that communication. That's where you start seeing things in interviews and then later in the papers where managers and staff, whilst they're at a club or once they've left a club, saying, oh, they were never in full control and et cetera, et cetera. And I know we've heard that in the past, not with the current setup, but need these two guys to be working with each other. And the only limitation that I want them to have is the one that we know about, which is the financial side, Ox. And I know that means that Gio might say, oh, this guy's good. And Ross says, unfortunately, we haven't got the scope finance to get him. And that's something that they'd have to understand. And we'd have to then understand it even if we don't like it. They've got to be working well together because otherwise, what's the point, Ox?
Yeah, I'm a great believer in demarcation. You'll not be surprised to hear that, Southside.
No, I think we've got a new scouting set up as well, haven't we? Got John Parkin, and I think we've got bits of new recruitment here and there. So hopefully that's going to, between tying up between that happening, them sending players to Ross Wilson. The only thing I was disappointed in was the boy maybe didn't turn around and ask him after he gave his answer. I would have turned around and said to him, well, Gio, what player, about the ones that we've signed in the summer, did you actually sign? What one did you recommend? But nobody asked him that, Davey, no.
Yeah.
He said it was like a joint decision.
Yeah.
He didn't say, like, didn't name a player and say, well, I recommended him and we went with him. No, nobody asked him that question, Davey, which I would have after it, no.
Yeah.
You coming in, Davey? We're waiting all night for you.
Aye, no, I just thought I don't like jumping in, you yellow card me right away.
I try my best. I've been trying to get you in for months and months, but I've not been allowed to.
You got a new set off Amazon and all, Davey.
No, that's good. I like that much to say. No, regarding what we're talking about there is, I think at points when I'm with you saying here about the next question, it should have been asked, but I still think there's more clarity on that and what we've been discussing of late, because we've all been saying, oh, these signings, his signings, no, it's his signings. Well, I think we know now that that's where the signings have been. It's a joint decision. So you can't say, I know what two sides is saying, what particular players, but there again, you've got to listen to what he said, well, I would have liked this, but I can't get the money. So that's exactly where we are. But things will get better, guys. Well, no danger.
I don't think they're as bad domestically as people think, in my opinion, Davey.
Correct.
I don't think they're quite as bad. Obviously, the Champions League, it's been sore, mate. It's been sore. But I'll tell you what, I'd rather be there competing in that than playing against Brecon and losing to, who did we lose to? Stirling Albion? Was it Southside?
Yeah.
Oh, I was there. I'll see that day. McCoy's could have went, I'm telling you. After that day, that was a right low day, that.
Can I ask you something, guys?
Yes, mate. Don't make it too hard. Look at the panel we've got.
Your panel's always spot on. Anyway, what I was going to say, do you not think we actually were a victim of our own success from last year?
Yes and no, mate. A victim, maybe, because I think some of the negativity has came to Giovanni because we never got over the line. We never got over the line in the league, Southside.
Aye, probably, Davey. Probably in Europe, Stevie G brought us back to credibility and that, and then obviously when he left and Gio got us to the Europa League final, it's like we've said, Davey, we've talked in here, if Haaland had probably played against us for Borussia Dortmund, we might not have been talking about a Europa League final, you know, and we carried a bit of luck, let's be honest. We didn't win an away game after Dortmund, and we rode our luck and we've done the business at Ibrox. But that's all, mate. But we need to concentrate on the league now, Davey. This is what we've got to all get our heads round here. We've got a threadbare squad probably going into this game on Sunday, and if we can get the win and get a sort of half-decent performance, we might not get to play nice football because it might be a ploughed park, you know. It might not be a good surface, so we might have to play some long balls and that. It might not be great to play football up there, Davey. You know what it can be like up there. But it's just about getting a win. If we can get a win with a half-decent performance or get anything like last Saturday against Aberdeen, then we should steamroller it, and that will start to put a wee bit of confidence into the team, and that's what we're looking for. A bit of confidence and just get to the end of the World Cup bit starting, and then hopefully we'll have even 2 players back. Even 2 would help, Davey, going forward.
Davey, can I put you on the spot, mate? And I don't mean to be rude.
Well, you're not getting any of my Maltesers anyway, I'll tell you that.
Never ever dream of that. Never dream. I know there's only one panellist that you would ever give Maltesers to.
Yeah, okay, carry on, fire away.
And that's Big Stevie, right? Right, so I'm going to ask you a question, and if you were in charge,
right,
would you part with Giovanni?
No.
Okay,
it's dead easy to. I know you want a straight no, but that's too easy. That's too easy. I'll tell you one thing, and I know for a fact, I've played football a lot myself, and like all you guys, I've been in the club 3 times. If Gio had got the 40 million that man came up got, just 40 million, you would see a different team out there today.
Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of reasons why we can't spend that. We talked about it earlier on, Juicy, about the progressions, the steps, the 10-year coefficient causing a gap, that money they get every year that we've not had. Plus the revenue streams are more advanced because we had a big slice disappeared for pretty much 5, 6, 7 years, Juicy.
Exactly. We are from that point of view playing catch up, but we are in a position where that role can be reversed. We're in the top league now. We've got access to Europe every season, Ox. That, as we said earlier, those years will drop off, and we will see an improved picture because look how great our coefficient scores have been over the last 4 seasons prior to this one. So that's already turning. Those years will drop off, and things will level out, which will obviously then give us an advantage from that respect at that time. So it's kind of swings and roundabouts in a very literal sense. But just to go back to Davey's previous point about us being victims of our own success, Ox, it was always going to be really, really hard to replicate what we did last season in Europe, whether we'd still been in the Europa League or, of course, where we've ended up in the Champions League. And Southside's right. We did need a little bit of luck in certain matches, and all teams have that. Eintracht needed a little bit of luck in some of their matches. Look at Real Madrid's run to the final of the Champions League.
Yeah.
They had probably the hardest run you could ever have in the knockout stages, and they needed some big degrees of fortune here or there, plus quality skill in their team as well. So, you need things to align for you, and of course it hasn't this season, but it was always going to be hard to replicate what we did last year. And those times will come again. And I know fans want everything now, as I said earlier. Sometimes we've just got to be patient.
Yeah, well said, Juicy, well said. Yeah, as I said last night, I don't think I've ever been so looking forward's not the right word, but I'm intrigued to see what the figures on the accounts outside.
Aye, there's probably about this coming week, I think, I think a lot more favourable than it was last year's accounts, mate. let's look at it that way, you know. Obviously, there'll be bits that will not be in it and we'll get that benefit the following year. But aye, it'll certainly be, the turnover will be up. That's what I'd be expecting. That should be well up for where it was last year.
Aye. And we'll see where it takes us. Obviously, expenditure grows, like everything, you know, but we'll see where it takes us. Maybe it'll answer a few questions for us. Right, Davey, what are you thinking of the team on Sunday, mate? What's your rationale?
Well, I think he's hit it on the button there earlier. We've not got a great deal to choose, you know, but he's got to shuffle the pack again. And depending on, obviously, the way they've looked at them, he's looked at how they're going to set up. It'll depend on who we put out. I mean, he's got to play Kolak. He's got to put him up front. Now, the rest, more or less, just a wee jigsaw puzzle. You got to move them about. As you say, Ben Davis fit. We could fit back Sank, blah, blah, blah. It depends on how they match up to what we want to match up. Can I just say something? It was regarding what we were talking about earlier about, I don't know who brought it up, if it was his side or something, about the booing, right? Now, I know everybody's got the right to voice their opinion, but for all the Rangers supporters, guys that are listening, booing is not going to help the team. You just look at all the young boys at Union Bernard. They just sat there and sang their hearts out. That's what it's all about, folks. That's what I say.
I'll let Southside answer that. Southside.
No, Davey, I agree. You know, I said we've been in Ibrox, seen many a player being booed and stuff. But I think it was a wee boo. I think some boos coming in after. I think they nearly made it 3-0 in the first half, and there was a wee sort of hang me. But certainly at half time, I could hear it close to where I was further down, near Baroque sits actually. It was coming through, but it doesn't help, Davey. You know, we know we were threadbare with the squad that we're putting out there, and you knew there was a strange atmosphere going into the stadium. Even when the Union Bears were singing right at the start after the Champions League music, there was a bit of the crowd singing round about us, but no the full stand, which would normally happen. Even the Copeland Road would normally be belting out a tune just after a minute or two after the game kicks off, and none of that. I think everybody went fearing the worst in a way, you know, and that seemed to be like the atmosphere round about, you know. But like you say, booing the team off didn't help, Davey. Yeah, they're out there to try their best. Might not have looked like it, but they were Ajax were just passing the ball around about. It was all that quick movement. We didn't have any legs. And Tillman, for me, honestly, Davey, I don't know what you thought. Nobody's actually mentioned it, but I know he's a young boy and he's only 20. But I'd have had him out at half time. He done nothing that first half. Absolutely walked about the park. Looked totally lazy. But it might have just been the occasion for the boy. It just passed him by. But I think you can at least show a bit of effort, Davey. And for me, loads of people were saying it, which he's still doing it, coming out there in the second half. But he is a young boy. He has got talent. But even now, we're throwing him in the deep end, like we have with Leo and King. And the treatment that boys had online and have certain people comments about him. It's disgusting because he's a young boy. He's a young boy, and I said one here many a time, I'm prepared to let any young boy who goes out there and wears a Rangers jersey. If he makes a mistake, he makes a mistake, or if you think he's made the mistake, he's learning, and he's going to be thrust in there because he wouldn't be playing Champions League football if Connor Goldstone had been fit. Let's not kid ourselves. Exactly, mate. Wonderful experience for him, but he doesn't deserve a criticism that he's been getting.
Other players done different things and more spectacular things, but the position he plays in, and if you make an error, it can end up in a goal. You know, it's all right having a shot at goal when he goes by the post. You know, you make an error and where he's playing, you get punished. You know, listen, some of the things I've read has been disgusting, and the boy looks I think that's for you, Davey. That's for you, Davey.
No. It's not me, no, it's me.
No, that was for you.
What was that?
Aye.
Didn't hear it. I just went. Brilliant. Yeah. You need to excuse me, I'm a bit slow when you get to my age, you know.
Oh, we know it's not. That's a wee hint for his birthday Southside every night.
Oh, I know.
Oh, fabulous.
It's January, Davey, innit? It's January, Davey, innit?
Spot on, guys.
Ah, we know.
We know the day and all. We know the day and all.
Fabulous. Anyway, what were we saying there? What were we talking about?
The young boy king, but listen, the team, you know, we know there's flaws. I mean, I think we're trying to build a new side slowly. You know, that if you like the Gerrard team that he built a few seasons, is slowly breaking up, David.
Yeah, our expectations for last season has carried on through to this season. And how many times have we been talking about it for months now that we missed the boat with our recruitment? Now that's come back to bite us right in the backside. Big time. More now that we've got injuries. But we've been talking about injuries, but there again, if you look at them all, there's not that many in there could just walk back into that team because the most of them are all more serious injuries. And they're all but they're all centre-halves.
Well,
we need, that's why Tillman's getting punished for what he's doing. He's not getting anybody in that middle with legs to give him a bit of support. Until we get that, you'll see. When we get that, you'll see that boy coming out, and it's a big ask from him. Big ask to play at Rangers.
Pressure, David. You've got to be able to wear that shirt. It's a heavy shirt, juicy.
It is indeed a heavy shirt, Oxford, but if they've signed and we brought them in to play for Glasgow Rangers, we expect levels of performances. However, as I said earlier, Tillman didn't help the boy when we were playing him on that right side. And I know we've been down on manpower and maybe needs must, and we know the right side is a extremely difficult position for us at the moment to fill, even when everyone's fit. We're still not quite sure who's best off in that place, but we clearly know it's not him. And if you want to get the best out of him, you've got to play him in that middle. But Southside's observations were correct. There's been matches where he's just looked totally not interested. He seems to be extremely up and down with his temperament. And, okay, he's still a young boy, but we've seen that there's a player in there. We've seen it. And, we've got to get the motivation going on him. I don't know what they do with him in training, but I don't know what his relationship is with the rest of the guys. When he scored that goal at Motherwell, celebrations were great. So you just got to kind of keep working on him because I think there is a player there. Obviously, we've got an option to buy. We don't have to take it, do we? But we just got to see how it goes with him and Sands because we've got two potentially really, really good assets there. I think I'd be more inclined at the moment to sign Sands because I think he's proven his versatility. But there's still time for Tillman.
We'll be joined by Blue Star, Ethan Blue Star.
Evening, Oxger, Juicy, Southside, Davey. I could be listening to the night, guys, through sore heads and sore ears. I get my jags today, so I'm suffering a bit. But listening to what you are saying, you weigh everything up. I don't care about that. It's only my opinion. As you keep saying, it's all only with opinions, and we don't agree, disagree. But that's the name of the game. For me, I don't care what MD says. Our recruitment's been an absolute shambles. It's been a dead loss. Doesn't matter how you dress it up. Even if all 7 players that we signed, even if they all become good in the next number of months, there's still been a shambles because Gio, our manager, kept telling us from day one that anybody we brought in had to hit the ground running. We've had one player that's hit the ground running. One put the whole lot. One player, and that's Kolach. So the rest, it doesn't matter whether they've been injured, whether they've had to struggle to wear the shirt or no. So far, they've all been failures. Every single one of them. Southside got that bang on. Again, Tillman should have been hooked at half time. Absolutely no ifs, buts, maybes. That's how bad he was. He was stunning in the middle of the park, actually stunning, watching the ball getting passed about. No fight, no determination. He's a young boy, but you've got to look at it from all angles. You can't say he's a young boy and then look at the likes of King getting thrown into the hardest bit of our team when we're getting ran out of the tapper. So you've got to address it all. The signings have been absolutely nothing short of absolutely abysmal. Abysmal. There's no dressing it up. We've had one success, and that's for striker. And if anything, as Davey said last night, if anything, Patty helped Gio and the rest of our board. If anything happens to our striker, then guys, forget the injuries that we've already got. We are in deep, deep trouble because the wee man up front that is supposed to be sidekick has done nothing for us. He's totally disinterested. He wants away, as does Kent. It's there for us all to say. It's 100%. They want away. They want out the club. They're not playing. They're empty jerseys. So the one positive for me is that at least we've got a guy up front that knows where to put the ball. And if he's good to service, then he does, and he's been proving that. But the rest of the signings, oh no, there's no dressing it up, guys. We're playing with the same side that we've been playing with for the best part of 4.5 years. Our midfield is absolutely non-existent for me. Non-existent. I keep saying it. It's the engine room.
You name the team last Saturday, Buster?
Can I name the team?
Yeah, the team that started.
Aye, the engine room was...
name the whole team.
Aye, Yilmaz played all right, but he only lasted 5 minutes.
Name the whole team that started.
McGregor. Trav.
Yep.
King.
Yep.
Davies.
Yep.
And Yilmaz.
Yep.
Lundstrom. Sands.
Yep.
And Kent. Sakala. And Kolach.
And Tillman.
That's right.
So, how many of them were there at the start of Stevie G's team?
I know. I get what you're saying to a point, right? If you look at it, Cholak's the only one that's really firing, right? Because we've not had that chance to see. But we've had Lawrence and Tillman in the team together before he took the injury. I think you'd have to try and get them all in the team like we have in the past to try and judge it going forward. Are they going to be any good? I know what you're saying about summer signings, right?
Hey, absolutely agree with you. But the point is, we're being told that to bring players in that cost money, they must hit the ground running. None of them have. Whether that's injuries or no, none of them have. None of them have even attempted to 2 and 3 games, including Davis. There he's just in the team, and he's crocked again.
I know. I think Lawrence might have been on a bit longer, but then again, he actually get injured in training, is what Gio said after he was due to come back. He took a knock in training, and that's what's put him out.
Outside, we need men in the middle of the park.
But see, when we say recruitment, what we were looking for? I was looking, if it was asking me, I was looking for obviously the midfield, right, to get bolstered.
Midfield, 100%.
Right? And I was looking for maybe a player about probably Lawrence's age with a bit of experience that could come in and make a difference, and maybe have 23, 24-year-old guys. What you're looking for into your midfield, that's what I was hoping we would maybe get. But Ross Wilson looked like he went to shore up our left-hand side of defence, saying, right, we've not got a left-sided defender, I'll put one in there, we paid $4 million and then we buy this boy Yilmaz, who, by all accounts, we only know he's played at Besiktas and he's played there quite regular and had Champions League experience. So obviously you'd think he will come in and make a difference, Boyster.
See with Sands and King inward the centre of our defence. Here's one for you. And this is, I honestly do believe this. See if we'd have had 2, and I maintain he should be playing with 3 in the middle of the park, and a bit like Gerrard, and he's not been doing that. He's playing basically with 2 in the middle of the park. Oxy's got one thing right. When you're playing with 2, supposing you're playing with 2 world superstars in the middle of the park, if you're playing against a half-decent side, they'll get overrun. So for me, you should be playing with 3 in the middle of the park. And by that, I'm saying, if we'd had 3 half, and I'm not even talking about top notchers, I'm talking about 3 half-decent players in the middle of the park. I'm telling you, I'm not saying we'd have won any of the games, but we certainly wouldn't have taken anything like the beatings, and we'd certainly have been overrunning most of our teams in the SPL, and I keep coming back to it. In the SPL, Ox, I disagree with you, hands down. We have had one decent 90-minute performance since we started the season. And I said at the start of the season, we needed a midfield. I want to see a midfield that dominates games. We're nowhere near it yet. We did it against Aberdeen, and that was only playing with a guy in there that had only kicked his first ball, and that was Sands and Lundstrom. Lundstrom's not the quickest, but he's got a wee bit about him. That's what we're lacking, the middle of the park. And I'll say it again, our board don't have an option come January. They have to bring in a minimum 2 guys that are walking into that team in the middle of the park. No trialists, no works in progress. They have to be proven players.
How much should we spend on these 2 players?
Well, that's another thing. See, when the accounts, they come out, and they'll not be out this week because they'll not bring them out before the AGM. I don't believe that for a minute.
They always come out before the AGM, mate.
Well, they've brought in plenty of money, and we've only spent 11 money outlay. We have spent nothing in the middle of the park since Kamara, which is 50 grand, which for a team of Rangers is absolutely diabolical. We haven't bought MD.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? The middle of the park is our engine room. We've not spent a penny in there. We've brought in guys. I just don't get it. How can you spend 5 million in a boy that's not kicked a ball for us? 4 million in a centre half that's not kicked a ball for us? And as yet, they still haven't. That's the 11 million basically been taken up, and 2 guys that haven't even kicked a ball for us yet. It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. Maton was 3 million in him, Ox. It's bizarre. The middle of the park is where our engine room is. That's where we need players.
I think they hung their hat on. They let Aribo go and replaced him with Lawrence and Tillman. And we try to bolster it with Davis and Arfield for a year. And if I'm being honest, it's not worked. Juicy.
Well, can you hear me, guys? We're working? Yeah, it's working. Sorry. It's just difficult
you
for
want
me.
us to clap when you say 2 words?
It's stop it. It's a difficult one for me because I think that Blue Stars mentioned a few players there, and I think Yilmaz and I think Davis are going to work out just fine. I know they've not played a lot Blue Star, but I've seen something in them that I think they're okay. But as far as everyone else has just been injured, and I think Lawrence is a player, Oxshire, but how many of these guys are going to be back by post-World Cup? You know, is the whole team going to be back? You know, everyone keeps saying, after the World Cup, everything's going to be fine.
You don't know, mate. You don't know. Let's be honest. Albert said it the other night. You don't know. When somebody's coming back from a muscle injury, some people are 3 weeks. Well, no, maybe 3 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, 6 weeks. Other people take 12 weeks. You know,
the trouble is, we've had players out Oxshire where Theo said, it'll be a couple of weeks, and we've not seen him for months. So, no, I'm not holding on to post World Cup as being some kind of holy grail that everyone's going to be fit. But Blue Star, do you agree with me there? Have you seen enough in Yilmaz and Ben Davis that you think they will be worth the money? I agree with you. I think Matondo, I don't think he's I've seen enough of him that I don't think he's cutting the mustard for me. But I think a few of the others.
Yilmaz, I certainly think has a bit about him, guys. Yilmaz certainly looks the part for me, but again, it's hard to judge because we really haven't seen him. The boy Davis, no, I think he's far too thin for a centre half. I've got to be honest. I hope he proves me wrong. I think he's got a culture left foot a day, but I don't think he's anywhere near looks commanding to me. He definitely doesn't. But in our league, do I think he'll get away with it? He should do. But I'll say it again, the middle of the park, for me, it would have been Lundstrom, Ryan, Jack, guys like that. But we can't hang our hat on them now. Even Lundstrom's flagging. I mean, he really is. He's flagged for a long time. Is that because he hit his peak last year, the same as Tav, etc.? There's no cover for Tav because it's obviously doesn't fancy the young boy Divine. There's big question marks. I want Gio to stay. I'll say it again, I do. But the recruitment process from now on, he's living from game to game. Of that, there's absolutely no doubt. And we're talking about that. There's too many fans out there that now want him away. That's just the way it is. So he is living from game to game. So we're both know that. But come January, guys, even if we get certain players back, the middle of the park is paramount. We have to go to it in the middle of the park. We have to. You can't rely on Ryan, Jack, Arfield and Davis anywhere. It's not there. Kamara looks as if he's going to go, guys. So he's got to bring in a couple of players in there that are going to go into the team. It's not works in progress. It's got to be proven players. They have to do it. They have to.
Come on, Southside.
See, we'll see what you're saying then when he's looked at the squad for the season, right? We've brought in 2 players, right? Tillman and Lawrence. That's what he's brought in. One is a project. He's only 20, and Lawrence, you'd think, would have hit the ground running, got a bit of experience, right? Plays in the Championship Saturdays, Tuesdays, and that. So you'd expect him to be able to grind it out. We might have took Tillman out the team in times and then brought him in and brought him out. And I think because Lawrence has took an injury, we might have looked at the squad and thought, right, well, we've got the defence sorted out. We've got Golston and Tav playing, and we've got cover. We could put Sands back, and we've also got young King. We could also put Sands into midfield. Maybe that was a plan that they thought of doing. And obviously, because we've picked up injuries and stuff, we've not had a chance to do it. So we might have looked to be putting Sands into midfield, thinking Arfield will be a bit part player, Davis will be a bit part player. Kamara might fight for his place with Sands and Lundstrom and Jack, although Jack doesn't start many games. And obviously you had Tillman and Lawrence as creative. And Lawrence could have been out and played slightly left if Kent hadn't been playing for him, and played that position.
Outside, everything you're saying's right, but
in hindsight,
rang in the same breath. It's rang in the same breath in hindsight, yeah, because and I get it. I'm agreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing, but what I'm saying is, it's all right looking at it that way, but it hasn't worked. Yes, injuries have played a big part in it. Of course they have. We all know that. But at the same time, if you had all those guys fit and you're putting that midfield out there, I'm telling you, none of them are dominating games. They aren't doing it. And they haven't been doing it. And that's why we're 4 points behind. Yes, it can be made up. Of course it can. But I don't see enough pace, even if we get the players back. The so-called players that we all seem to think can walk into our team, I don't know who they are. I've got to be honest, I don't, because the middle of the park is bereft of talent for me. So when you're only up against one other team across the city, as it should have been, but it hasn't been because we've struggled against every other side. That's my reckoning. We haven't dominated any games, and that's to the detriment of our midfield because it's just not there, guys.
I'll give you the fact that we've not dominated the whole 90 minutes, but we never struggled at Tynecastle, we never struggled against St Mirren at Ibrox, we never struggled against Aberdeen, we never struggled against St Johnstone at home. We've took 4 after them all. We didn't play well.
That's right, we've scored 4 against them, but the other games we were struggling to even score a 1 goal, never mind 4.
We weren't great against Livingston. The D United, we should have been 5 up at half time and then hung on at the end. We should have put the game out of sight and never.
Major positions in the team, Ox. Major positions in the team we don't have cover. I.e., anything happens to Kovac, Alfie's done. He's done. He's not trying a leg. It doesn't matter how we look at it. It's not there. So if anything happens to Kovac, we're a striker down. We're already bereft of centre halves. They're long-term injuries. Hollander is very, very doubtful whether he'll ever play again. Big Goldson's crocked long-term. So major thing. Because Tab, we don't know what the score is, but we know for a fact he's carrying a groin strain. How long that'll take to clear up, we don't know. Yes, it might be back after the World Cup. But there's major places in the team, Ox, including goalkeeper. We've not even got a good backup. It doesn't matter how you look at it. It's not been negative. I want my team to be going out there and running all the top of teams in Scotland. And at the moment, I'm not seeing that. And I don't see where we keep saying, well, when these players come back fit, yes, Yilmaz will make a difference. Of course he would. And I think Davis will as well. But in the middle of the park, guys, I'll say it again, I don't see us with any strength in there. I honestly don't.
We've got a lot of players. We've got a lot of players in, if they're all fit. But, I mean, there's some of them at the wrong end of their careers, Southside.
Aye, we've got ourselves into, we've gave an extension here and an extension there for a season, and then we've got Alfie and Kent running out of contract. And if they're not playing well, and they're not playing well at times, then they get criticised because they're not trying. Alfie can go into that part. Didn't run about anywhere near as much as Kolak did when he came off the park, the Blue Star when he came on. Didn't go and chase people down, but the result was probably gone, and he's probably thinking, well, what's the point? Do you know what I mean? Mentality-wise, possibly in his head. Like you say, it comes down to player contracts and what you do, and if you can move them on or not move them on. And I know Albert had a theory, but it's all right in theory. You can maybe keep them a couple of years and say, if you don't extend them, we're going to sell you. And it doesn't always work like that. Alfie, we've had our money's worth. We could have probably sold him a couple of years back, and we didn't. We chose to keep him. We went on with 155, and then after that, he's valued, and nobody really sort of come in from. He's not a top goal scorer where he scores 20 league goals plus a season, even in Scotland. He does a decent job, but I would rather have Kolak doing what he does than have Alfie bustling defenders 25 years for goal and all that. For me, Joe looks a far better goal scorer. I think he's starting to come short, like the play, which I seen on Saturday, which I was hoping that maybe we're going to see a bit Murphy, and it might open up other areas, Blue Star. But we've got a lack of quality in the midfield at times, but I'm hoping if Sands and Lundstrom stay fit and they become workhorses, and hopefully for then on we can try and get to the players that we're hoping they'll try and do a turn and get the ball across into Cholak. If it has to be Sakala meantime, or it has to be Kent or Lawrence, I hope Lawrence and Golston. See if we get Lawrence and Golston back. I think that would make a difference to our team straight away.
Where are you playing Lawrence in the team?
Where would I play him? Well, I'd either play him just off the left if Kent wasn't functioning. I'd have Tillman in beside him, and I would have whoever it is that's playing their best on the right. If it's a Scott Wright or a Sakala or a Matondo. And if he's no, I would play him in number 10 in the middle. But I think we need two creative players in the middle. I think we need two football players in there. And I think Tillman and Lawrence, fitting the two of them in the team, is what you need to do to break teams down. And he gets in the box, Lawrence. And Tillman will probably play a bit better when he's got a bit more football players round about him. And no guys that are just coming short, playing a pass and then just playing it sideways. You know, you've seen Lawrence and Kent look no bad for the wee two spells and that they had, and Tillman was involved and all in the game. But we've not seen any of that since. Mm-hmm. We've been missing it. And we've been playing the usual journeyman in midfield, retain the ball, pass it sideways. Nothing going forward and nobody breaking the lines. And Lawrence breaks the lines.
I've been sent a wee message here, and we've got a message from our sponsors. I don't know what it is.
When you're smiling, the whole world, it smiles with you.
I believe it.
When you're laughing, babe, when you're laughing, well, the sun comes shining through.
Perfect song, because we've got to hear the Super Six.
Hi, welcome to Southside Super 6 for November the 5th. My first selection is Blackburn Rovers to beat Huddersfield. My second selection is Middlesbrough to beat Bristol City. My third selection is Norwich to win away from home against Rotherham. My fourth selection is Montrose to beat Peterhead. My fifth selection is Sunderland to beat Cardiff. And my sixth selection is Swansea City to beat Wigan. If you do that Super 6, it pays 32 to 1. My Rangers bet this weekend is Antonio Kolak to score first, Rangers to win 3-0, and that pays 20-1. Hopefully it won't be a damp squib weekend. It'll be a firecracker of a weekend. So hopefully Southside's on fire.
If you don't get up this week, you'll be getting a rocket up here.
Rocket profit.
Fair play to you, big man. Right, I've got a lot of that in our direction. Yeah, you confident?
Aye.
You're always confident, but aren't you?
I mean, like you say, there was FA Cup games and all that.
This week. Are we away?
Aye, Norwich.
You need to tell your boys that of Southside.
Yeah, I put it on every week, mate. So it's I do another one. I do a different one. I take a wee bit more gambles. I was going to put Brighton in this week away from him, but I've took them on another line. So no, I'm hoping these 6 will come up. So if anybody's got it on, then hopefully it will come in this weekend.
Here, bit of fun, Davey.
Yeah. I must say, I meant to mention it. I was listening to your Gordon Smith's interview, and it was fantastic. And everything that he was advertising for his fundraiser was spot on.
Asking, aye. If you've got time, look on the Rangers supporters asking appeal page.
Me and Ox, that was a great interview. That was one cultural, classy player. He really was. He was far classier than what I think even he got the credit for when he was at our club. But Smith was a great player. He really was, and it was a brilliant interview. It really was. Well done.
We never really replaced him for a good few years. Maybe not to get the best out of Durant when Souness came,
That's right, absolutely. And one of the guys that always bums him up is Big DJ. DJ always tells you straight that even Smith running through midfield, the amount of balls that he even laid on for him was terrific. And he was a great player, he really was.
69 the day, Big Derek Johnson. 69.
Wow.
Yeah.
Easy.
Sad he never got in the greatest ever Rangers team. He got in mine, mind you, but I think it was just
in mine, I know.
Aye, I think it was just the age, the demographic. It was voting, I think.
Yeah.
But you saying he's up against Hateley?
Big Mark's good player and all that, and all right, he played the continent, played for England, but
Johnston.
he's no a header of a ball like Derek Johnston was. You know,
no chance.
The best header of the ball, I think we've ever seen, maybe Big DJ, if I'm being honest.
Oh, he done the ball. There was nobody better. I've never seen anybody better at he done the ball. The biggest critic for me for Big DJ was Ali McLeod, top goal scorer in Britain, and never gave him a sniff in that World Cup. It was shocking.
I think it may have been the Pyramid might have done it. Southside.
Really? I get one there and all.
There was a few of them winter had them. Big Souness and that daft Alan Ruff, and there was a few of them winter. There was another cracker. Somebody had one. It was a belter. But aye, back in the day. But aye, the
always
goal
on that. See when the parents were out, it was scissors at the bottom of Bath Street. And all the footballers, I swear that when I went, they were actually queuing at the door all in and get a pair of them. Oh dear.
That takes you back all day there.
Oh, well, I was just going to say there, the best one ever, but apart from you guys, all you young guys, modern day football, was Jimmy Miller. Now, Jimmy Miller could score with a header to the halfway line. And that's when footballs were footballs, with a tea bladder. And if you hear it at the ring, you go to the laces right down your kipper.
Well, all the best things come out of Partick, Davey.
He was, I've seen, Jimmy Miller was.
I'm talking about the Tomlinson T-ball. It was made in Partick.
Yeah. Nah, Jimmy Miller for me anyway. In that era, anyway,
Right. Okay, well, I'm not going to argue with you. But Big Derek, what a player! And by the way, what a gentleman! Yeah. Right, okay. What would we do for Derek Johnson in my team now, or a Jimmy Miller? How's it going tomorrow for you, Juicy? How's the game going to go, mate?
Well, I think my thoughts at the top of the show, Ox, were putting the level of performance that we had against Aberdeen, and regardless of who starts, it will probably be a similar team, or one or two injuries we've had since. Just put in that level, and we'll have more than enough to beat St Johnstone Football Club. And I've got no qualms about that. I would like, and someone else said it earlier, I think Southside said it, someone else did, want to see a bit more of Lowry as well, because remember, he's one of those creative kids. It's not just throwing in a young boy for the sake of it. We know that he's a player that can actually make a difference. And he looked good in the last few minutes midweek. Let's just see a little bit more of him. I'm okay with him not necessarily starting, but at least give him half an hour. And if he starts, give him an hour, see how he goes. He's plenty fit enough now. That's why he was in our squad.